The young and the restless spoilers. The morning light streamed through the curtains in golden streaks, but inside the Newman estate, there was no warmth to be found. Cole Howard sat hunched in a leather armchair, his hands trembling slightly as he wiped a sheen of sweat from his forehead. Victoria had been watching him for days, his pallor worsening, his frame growing thinner, the persistent cough that rattled in his chest like dry leaves in the wind. At first, he'd brushed it off as the flu. Then exhaustion. Then maybe a chest cold. But now she was sure it was something much darker. "You need to go to the hospital," she said again, standing in front of him with arms crossed and a quiet desperation in her voice. "Cole, this isn't just a bug. Look at you. You haven't slept, you can't eat, and you've been running a fever for 3 days." "I'm fine," he muttered, his voice raspy and hollow. "It's just stress. I'll be okay." But he wasn't. As she reached for his hand, it was ice-cold and trembling. She saw the red flecks when he coughed into a tissue. And then, he doubled over, coughing violently, blood speckling his palm. Victoria's composure shattered. "That's it. I'm calling an ambulance." "No," he wheezed, shaking his head. "I can walk. Just help me to the car." But halfway down the driveway, he collapsed against her, gasping, his chest rattling as if every breath was being pulled through shards of glass. His knees buckled, and she held him up with a strength she didn't know she still had. "Cole, stay with me. Please," she whispered, her voice shaking. By the time the paramedics arrived, Cole was barely conscious. Victoria rode with him in the ambulance, her hand clenched tightly in his, whispering words that were more for herself than for him. "You're going to be okay. You have to be. I just got you back. Don't you dare leave me now." Inside, her heart was screaming. She had been here before. With Reed, with her father, with others. She knew the smell of hospital corridors, the buzz of medical equipment, the clinical urgency of nurses who moved too quickly to offer comfort. But this was different. This was Cole. Her Cole. The one constant in a life full of chaos. And now, he was slipping through her fingers. When they arrived at the ER, a team rushed to stabilize him. Blood oxygen was dangerously low. Chest X-rays were ordered immediately. Victoria sat in the waiting area, arms wrapped around herself, her thoughts spiraling. She thought about every warning sign she'd ignored. Every time he'd said, "I'm just tired." Every excuse. Every cough. Every night she hadn't pushed harder. A doctor came out 40 minutes later. She stood quickly. "Ms. Newman?" "Yes." "How is he?" "We've stabilized him. He's conscious and breathing on his own now, but we've found some concerning things on his scans." Victoria's blood turned to ice. "There's a large mass in his right lung. We're not sure if it's malignant yet, but it's causing bleeding in the airways. We need to run a biopsy immediately. We're also doing a full workup to rule out any infectious diseases." Victoria's knees nearly gave out. "Lung cancer." The words weren't said. Not yet. But they were there, hanging in the air between every breath she took. She nodded, eyes wide. "Do it. Whatever you need to do. Just save him." Hours passed. Amy came by to support her. Nick called. Even Nate texted. But Victoria couldn't speak. She sat outside Cole's room, watching him through the glass. He looked pale, fragile. Tubes in his nose. 4 in his arm. The strong, stubborn man she knew reduced to something so terrifyingly human. At one point, he opened his eyes and saw her. He smiled, weakly. "You stayed." "Of course I did. I told you not to worry." "I ignored you," she whispered, tears finally slipping free. "And thank God I did." He tried to laugh, but it turned into a cough. "You always knew better than me. I wish I didn't have to prove it this way." There was a long silence. Then Cole reached for her hand. I'm scared. So am I. But if it's cancer, then we fight. Another silence. You still believe in fighting? She nodded. More than ever. Because deep inside her, Victoria wasn't just afraid of losing Cole. She was afraid of being left behind again. Of watching someone she loved fade into a memory. Of carrying the weight of yet another goodbye she never got to prepare for. This wasn't just about a man she loved, it was about the part of herself that still believed in redemption, in new beginnings, in miracles. And if fate had other plans, she would meet it head-on. The news came the following morning. Victoria had barely slept. She'd spent the night curled in the corner of the hospital room, wrapped in a thin blanket, listening to the soft, rhythmic beeping of machines keeping Cole stable. Y&R. Hadley entered with a folder in hand and eyes that looked too tired for this hour. Victoria knew the news wouldn't be good. Cole was awake now, propped slightly against the pillows, his eyes bloodshot from fatigue and the weight of waiting. Victoria stood by his side and held his hand tightly. Neither of them spoke as the doctor sat down. I'll be direct, he began, his voice gentle but clinical. The biopsy results came back. The mass in your lung is malignant. It's advanced. Stage 3B, possibly approaching stage 4. It's spread to your lymph nodes. We're doing full-body scans today to check for distant metastasis. The words fell like ice through glass. Victoria felt her stomach hollow out. She heard herself whisper, no, but it sounded distant, like someone else had said it. Cole didn't move. He just stared straight ahead. Dr. Hadley continued. There are still treatment options. Immunotherapy, targeted drugs, chemotherapy. Possibly surgery, though we need to assess spread first. It's not hopeless. But it is serious. Victoria turned to Cole, trying to find something, any sign of emotion on his face. He finally spoke. How long? The doctor paused. With treatment? It's impossible to predict. But without it, I'd estimate less than a year. Silence. Crushing, suffocating silence. When the doctor left, closing the door behind him, Cole looked down at their joined hands. I didn't think I'd be this scared, he said softly. Victoria knelt beside him, tears brimming in her eyes. You don't have to be. We're going to fight this. You say that like we can win. We can. Her voice was firmer now. Maybe not forever. But we can win back time. We can win back hope. We can try. Cole chuckled bitterly. You've always been the fighter. I've always just endured. She shook her head, cupping his cheek. That's not true. You've been through hell and you're still here. That's not endurance. That's survival. He didn't answer. He just let her hold him. Later that day, as nurses wheeled him to imaging, Victoria stepped outside to breathe. Her hands were shaking. Her phone buzzed, Nick. Then Nikki. Then Audra. But she couldn't answer any of them. Because how do you explain to people that the world has stopped spinning? When Cole returned, he looked thinner than he had that morning. As if the diagnosis had begun to hollow him out. Victoria climbed into the hospital bed beside him, resting her head on his shoulder. We're going to make a list, she said. He blinked. A list? Of everything we haven't done. Every place we haven't gone. Every word we haven't said. And then? We start checking them off. In between treatments. In between doctor visits. Because I'm not letting this be our whole story. He was quiet for a moment, then nodded. Okay. They spent the next hour talking about Italy. The lake in Switzerland where Cole had once taken a photograph he never printed. The museum in Amsterdam Victoria had always wanted to see. They spoke softly, like dreamers, not patients. Not victims. But underneath it all, the fear remained. That night, Cole asked her, "What happens if the treatments don't work?" Victoria didn't look away. "Then we keep living until we can't. But we don't stop being alive." He nodded slowly. "Will you stay?" "Until the end." "And past that." Cole smiled, tears in his eyes now. "You know, for all the things I've failed at, loving you was never one of them." She kissed his forehead. "And you'll keep doing it. We'll keep doing it. Together." And in the dim light of the hospital room, beneath the machines and the shadows of mortality, they held each other, two people facing down the impossible, refusing to let fear speak the final word. The call came just after dawn, shattering the quiet of Clare Grace Newman's apartment like a stone through stained glass. It was her mother, her voice sharp and urgent, trembling at the edges. "It's Cole," Victoria said, no preamble, no time for gentle words. "He's in the hospital. It's serious. I need you to come now." Clare was out the door in seconds, keys in hand, hair still wet from a restless shower she hadn't fully finished. The streets of Genoa City blurred past her in streaks of gray and gold, the morning sun indifferent to the chaos in her chest. She didn't think. She didn't cry. Not yet. But something inside her, some ancient part of her that still believed in unconditional love, was already breaking. When she arrived at the hospital, she didn't stop to ask for directions. She didn't need to. She followed the look in the nurse's eyes, the hush in the hallway, the weight in the air. And when she reached the room, when she saw her mother sitting stiffly beside the hospital bed, when she saw the 4 lines, the oxygen mask, the pale skin of a man who had once read her bedtime stories and taught her how to climb trees, her legs gave out. "Daddy?" she whispered, and the word felt wrong and right all at once. Victoria turned to her, her eyes red and raw. "Clare," she breathed, rising. Clare rushed to the bedside, gripping the cold fingers of the man who had raised her. "You promised me you'd be okay," she said, voice cracking. "You said you were just tired. You said it was nothing." Cole didn't respond. He was sedated, drifting somewhere far away. But his chest rose and fell, and that was something. That was hope. And yet, even as she held his hand, a storm brewed behind her eyes. Because Clare had heard the rumors. She'd read the files. She'd spent sleepless nights trying to piece together a puzzle that refused to solve itself. She had always known something was off, something about the way Victoria looked at her, about the things Cole never said. About the hollow space in their shared history where a father's certainty should have been. And then there was Jordan. Jordan, the woman who had tormented the Newmans. Jordan, the ghost who was supposed to be dead. Jordan, whose presence had infected every moment of Clare's recent life like a shadow on her shoulder. Clare had thought she was free of her. But whispers in the corners of the internet, notes left at her door, a file anonymously delivered, these were not coincidences. They were reminders. Warnings. Jordan was still out there. And Jordan had told her the one thing no one else dared: Cole isn't your father. He never was. Clare didn't want to believe it. She didn't want to betray the man lying unconscious before her. But now, as she stood by his side, tears streaking her cheeks, she couldn't deny the cracks in the story she'd been fed since childhood. Why had no one ever shown her a birth certificate? Why were there no photos of Victoria pregnant with her? Why had her DNA tests been inconclusive until now? And what did Jordan mean when she said, "You were part of the plan long before you were even born"? Victoria noticed the shift in her daughter's expression. "Clare," she asked. Clare turned slowly. "Mom, why does Jordan think I'm not Cole's daughter?" Victoria's face froze. "What?" Clare held up her phone, showing a message she hadn't shared until now. A simple line from an untraceable number: "He's not your father. He never was. Ask her." "Tell me it's a lie," Clare whispered. "Tell me she's just playing games again. Tell me I'm not part of another manipulation." Victoria opened her mouth. Closed it. Looked at Cole. "Clare. I don't know what to tell you." It was not denial. It was not affirmation. It was the worst thing possible, uncertainty. Claire stepped back. The room tilted. The beeping of the machines suddenly felt like sirens. So it's true, she said. You don't even know. It doesn't matter, Victoria said, reaching for her. He raised you. He loved you. Then why doesn't anyone say that? Claire snapped. Why does it always have to be implied, like I'm not allowed to ask? Like the truth will somehow unravel everything? Because maybe it would, Victoria whispered. Claire sat in the hallway, knees pulled to her chest. She felt like a child again, lost, abandoned, watching adults whisper things they didn't want her to hear. And then, as if summoned by memory, a nurse approached. There's someone asking for you downstairs, she said. A woman. Said her name was Jordan. Claire's blood turned to ice. She stood slowly, body numb. She didn't ask how Jordan had found her. That was Jordan's gift, appearing where she shouldn't. When she reached the waiting area, Jordan was standing by the windows, dressed in black, sunglasses covering half her face. You look tired, she said. Claire didn't answer. What do you want? To help, Jordan replied. Help me what, destroy my life again? I never destroyed anything. I just revealed what was already broken. Claire stared at her. Who is my father? Jordan smiled. Does it matter? It does to me. Jordan took off her glasses. Then follow the money. Follow the timelines. The answers aren't in sentiment. They're in secrets. And Victoria has a lifetime of them. And with that, Jordan vanished into the crowd like a whisper in smoke. When Claire returned to the room, Cole was awake. Barely. But he saw her. Reached for her hand. You came, he rasped. Of course I did. You're my girl, he said. Always have been. And in that moment, it didn't matter what the blood said. It didn't matter what secrets Jordan whispered. Because love wasn't biology. It was choice.